Hello, my friends. So, welcome to a conversation about rewriting your story. My name is Shay Marville. I'm a teacher, I'm a writer, I'm an entrepreneur, and I am a lover of nature, mindfulness, and becoming more present. And today, I wanted to chat with you about the idea of rewriting, not a book, but rewriting internally your story. We're in a new world, right? It's 2022, and the whole world has changed because of the pandemic, because of social change, because of global trauma. The list of things that are wild and transformational and revolutionary right now is long. And it is easy to be overwhelmed by fear, by grief and sorrow, the losses of the last 2.5 years. It is easy to feel lost because the world has changed, because the workforce has changed, because our families have changed. It's natural to feel those things. Can you hear the cicadas and the birds? Anyways, it's just beautiful outside. It's so beautiful out here. It's natural to feel impacted and to also feel as though maybe you don't know anymore who you are or how to move forward into the future. It's easy to feel a lot of doubt. It is natural to feel like you are living someone else's life and you may not be the person you used to be. Guess what? You're not alone. Guess what? That's all a part of the transformation. Transformation begins not externally, but internally. Transformation, right? Transformation begins in here and in here. And when I talk to you about writing a new story, I'm talking about the story you tell when you meet someone and they say, hey, how are you? You know, who are you? What are you about? What's that story? What are the 3 things that you say about yourself? I want you to write that down. Take a few minutes to write down when you meet someone and you're telling them about yourself, what's the story that you tell? And then I want you to look at that story and I want you to ask yourself, is it true? Is it true? Actually, let's take one step back. Sometimes the voice that's in here and the voice that's in here is a hard voice. Sometimes the voice that is internal is the voice of judgment. It's other people's stories. It's what the world says about you. And sometimes we don't know how to draw the goodness, the greatness out of the pain, the grief, the mistakes, the failures, the missteps, the betrayals, the hardness of life. And all those things I just mentioned sometimes become the protagonists and the leads in our story of ourselves. And we don't even realize that sometimes when we're talking about ourselves, we're telling a story that isn't about who we truly are. It's who others have said we are, or it is strictly about the things that we are ashamed of, or feel as though these are the things that have made me small and therefore I'm small. You see, the thing is, you are not small. You are not a failure. You are not yesterday. You are continually creating and envisioning a new future. The question is the future that you are envisioning and imagining the truth of what you can be and what is inside of you? Or is it the pain and the sorrow of yesterday? And the reason we try to get into the habit of rewriting our story is that the natural tendency, that negativity bias that's in all of us, that resistance to our own greatness, is always there. And sometimes we don't even realize it's leading the story. But when you start to get into the habit of reviewing, reflecting in a compassionate way, in a non-judgmental way, your life story, and then you start to pepper that story, you start to draw and thread the things that you have survived, the experiences that have made you bigger and wider, the things you've learned, then you can write a new story. And let's not get it twisted. As wild as the outside world is, as dominating as the external world is, it categorizes us by race and gender and culture and money and education and many, many, many other things. It is the outside world. There is a world, a universe inside of you. And the next question I have for you is do you know that universe? And do you know how to connect to it? Do you know how to engage with what's inside of you? Do you know how to believe in the things that are inside of you? And when you begin to focus more on what's inside of you and you become curious, right? And you embrace learning, and you can sit in the quiet of the forest, in the quiet of nature, which isn't quiet at all. But when you can sit and silence the external world, you can actually pay attention to the internal world. And so the first step in writing your story is to become quiet. The second step is to become non-judgmental. And the third step is to become curious. We are so curious about celebrities and what goes on in the external world. But what's our curiosity bandwidth for ourselves? And then the final piece is to do it from a place of love. Do you love yourself? And guess what? The answer does not have to be yes. If the answer is I don't know, or no, then that's where your work begins. Because how can you lift and elevate anyone that you don't care about, that you don't love or like? And I know there's a part of you, a lot of you maybe, who's saying, Shay, I don't even recognize who I am right now. I don't know who I am in this world. I don't even know what's happening in this world. I am an imposter to myself. Guess what? That means we know where to start. We know where the work begins to free you from the delusion of being an imposter, so that you can sit, reflect, pay attention without judgment to the human that's inside of you. That person requires love. That person requires you to be curious and interested and questioning. But there's another piece, that person that is you, that person requires space, time, sounds, someone's mowing their lawn, right? That person that is you requires fidelity to your light. I'm going to say it again. Fidelity to your light. I'm going to ask you to do something right now. I asked you before to just write down your story. Hope you can do that after, or you could do it right now, stop the recording and do it. But I'm also going to ask you to take this moment and place your hand on the left side of your chest, the region of your heart, the drum that beats inside of you that is unlike any other drum beat. And even if you don't feel it, and even if you don't know how, with your hand on your chest, I want you to say, "Dear one, I love you." And I know you're like, what does it have to do with writing my story? And this is getting really weird. And many of the things that we have been taught about how to think and learn have been oppositional to who we truly are. Especially as we get older and we come into contact with trouble and we have struggles and we fail and we fall. There is a tendency in many of us, because of how we've learned what the society has said to us, what our family members have said, what friends have said, what we're saying to ourselves, that says you're wrong, you're bad, and you're failing because you're not good enough. And it's actually not that at all. In fact, you are struggling because you're human. And you're failing because failure is a part of living. But you're having a hard time getting up because you don't love yourself enough. And if you have, or if you need someone else to recognize you before you recognize yourself, if you need someone else to love you before you love yourself and your story, then it's really hard. It's almost impossible to gather all of your experiences and all of your failures and all of your broken things that are on the inside. It's really hard. It's impossible, I'm going to be frank, to find a way to succeed. You see, our job is to be a creator and an inventor, a mystic of ourselves. Our job is to love ourselves even more when there is brokenness. Our job is not to beat on ourselves more and say, "You're so terrible." Our job is to say, "Okay, I surrender to this moment, but not to this failure. I surrender to this moment, but not to this heartache. I surrender to this moment, but not to the fear and the doubt that has erupted in me. I allow myself to feel it. I allow it to come out, but it is not going to define me. What defines me, what defines you, is your ability and capacity to love yourself through every sorrow, every pain, every grief, every failure, every anger, every agitation, and place that hand on the chest and close the eyes. Dear one, I love you. Say it with me. Say it with me. Sit on the ground, or on a chair, or on a bed, or against a wall, or a tree, and place your hand on your chest and say, "Dear one, I don't know how. But I love you. I love you." Say it. I want you to say it out loud. I love you. And then I want you to place your hands on your belly, and I want you to take a deep breath in. And when you can't take any more breath in, I want you to hold that breath and hold your belly. And then you're going to open your arms and you're going to tense your entire body. And you're going to say, "I love you. I don't know how. I don't know why. I want to love you. I love you." You do it. So exhale. Inhale. Open the arms. Expand your chest like a bird opening their wings. Take another breath in if you can. And then when you can't take any more breaths in, hold the breath. I love you. I love you. I love my head and my ears and my throat and my sternum and my belly and my thighs and my shoulders and my elbows and my wrists and my hands and my knees and my calves and my ankles and the soles of my feet. I love the sound of my voice, and I love the heart that beats in my chest. And even if you don't believe it, practice saying it. Sitting on the ground, on a chair, on a bed, against a wall, against a tree, beside the water. Place your hand on your chest. And let's do it 3 times. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Nice and slow. I love you. Breathe in again. Hold. Now exhale. I love you. Once more, inhale. Take the whole world in. Open your wings and let your chest expand. The arms are expanding behind you. I love you. So, what does that have to do with writing your story? Go back and write your story after you have said, after you have declared the love that you have for yourself and the fidelity to your capabilities. And then ask yourself, is this story the truth? Now here's the thing. There's a part of us that sees the truth in the negative. And so the story we write is not always the fulsome reality of how we struggled or what we lost and what we gained in the process of living. Sometimes it's the surface. Sometimes we don't write down the truth because we don't believe it to be true. But you have to start writing yourself back into your life. You have to start writing a story that is not magical thinking, but represents your dreams and your hopes and the things that you have survived. And the things that you desire. So that's another piece. Identifying your desire, identifying truly what you want, what you truly hope for, what you truly want for yourself, and doing it from a place of non-judgment and compassion. There's so many things happening right now. There's a plane, there's mowing of the lawn, there's birds, there's cicadas. But you know what's so funny? Just a little digression, guys, is that this is like life, right? You make a plan, you sit in the forest, in a park, and you want to tell a story, and all these things intervene. And you know what you have to do? You have to improvise. And you're not improvising from zero. You're improvising from all of your life's experiences. But with a desire and with a vision and with a dream rooted in love and joy for yourself. Now I know time is going, so let's get back to it. First part in writing and rewriting your story is just write it down and read it, and then ask yourself, is this the truth? Second part is to find a place to be grounded. To become present with your inhalation and your exhalation. You do that a few times. I always say, 10 is a nice number to breathe in and to breathe out. And just get grounded. Third is to place your hand on the left side of your chest, the place where your internal drum beats, your internal drum beats, your heart. And take 10 more breaths here, feeling the rhythm, the boop, 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 boop of your heart. Fourth is write the story again. Now we are ready to begin. But the second big part, right? That's the foundational part of beginning to write the story. But the second big part is a really important question. Do you love yourself? Do you love yourself? And sometimes the answer is, I'm not sure, and I don't know how. Guess what? That's a good answer. It's a beginning. Then you know where to start. And the reason that loving yourself is so important is that it is very hard to advocate and champion for a person you dismiss or you don't care about or that you doubt. All those things are natural, but they cannot be your resting place. They cannot be your baseline. Your baseline has to begin with the cultivation of self-care and paying attention. Then the third piece, the really big piece of writing and rewriting your story and reinventing yourself, that's part of what we're talking about, is your why. And another way to express why is, what is your purpose? Then the other piece of that is, what is your intention? So what is your intention for yourself? What is your intention for the world you live in, or the community you live in, or the partner that you have, or the friends that you spend your life with, or the family that you are raising, or the dog that you are looking after, or the bird that you own? What is your intention for yourself? Because intention follows you all throughout your life. You'll see people in the work environment and they're not present. And they think it's about work. They think it's about the people that are around them. But it never really is. Because, there are people doing bad things kind of everywhere. There's that energy that follows and moves around the world. But that's not you. The reason we are not present at work or in our business or in our families or in our friendships or when we say we want to change our lives is that we don't actually know our why, we don't know our purpose, and we don't know why we're here. And we think learning that sometimes comes from the outside world and someone recognizing you. It does not. Your why, your purpose is inborn. And thank goodness. Because if we depended on how the world perceived us in order to live, we might fall into a deep depression. Because sometimes the world is worlding on not so great things. But you, my friend, you have a mind that no one else has. You exist in a body that no one else has. There is no one else like you. That's why your fingerprint is unique. The sound of your voice is unique. The alchemy that exists in you of experience and ancestry, of education and life, like biological life, that doesn't exist in anyone else. So it is our job to become curious about ourselves, to be curious about the world, and to understand that we are continually evolving, changing, and growing and upskilling. Especially after we have emerged. We are in the process of emerging from this wild and crazy time, this pandemic, this economic transformation, this workforce transformation, this AI transformation, and you might naturally feel a bit lost. But inside of you, in your mind, in your heart, there is a unique viewpoint. Connect to that viewpoint. Mind that viewpoint. Look around the world. Ask yourself, what do you love? What do you care about? Where do you fit? Where don't you fit? And when you can sit or lay down without judgment, use your imagination to envision the world or the life that you want. And my friends, I'm telling you, I will tell you more when we work together, but we do not learn enough about our creative power and our capacity to imagine something in here and actually create it in the physical world. And that's what your story is. That is what you are here to do. You weren't born to be a follower. You weren't born to be a pretender. You weren't born to be lost. You weren't born to be less. You weren't born by accident. You have purpose divinely implanted in you. And your job is to be curious, to love, to reflect, to sit in silence, to allow the muse to appear, to be non-judgmental and yet compassionate and discerning. And after you have practiced those behaviors, that's when you can define a goal. That's where you write the story from. And then that story becomes the voice that you speak with. That story becomes the content you put out in the world about yourself. When someone meets you, you sit, you stand, you lift your sternum, and you say, I am. Try it with me right now. Sternum up, shoulders down and back, spine long. Spine long. Lift your arm in the air so you can lengthen the torso, and then extend the arms. And then press your hands into the floor or the mat or the soil underneath you, or the bench or the bed, wherever you are. But you're propping yourself up. You take a deep breath in and you breathe out. I am. I am. Say it with me. I am. I am. I am that I am that I am that I am that I am. I am more. I am present. I am a part of this universe. I am a creator and a maker and a designer. I am quiet. I am silent. I'm a learner. I am wise. I am a teacher. I am my own guru. I am. And then release. And now begin to write and rewrite your story. Your story shows up in the sound of your voice, in the things that you look at, in the way you love and care and present yourself to the world. It is not external, it is strictly internal. So today, wherever you are, however you are, find a way to breathe the air, be enveloped by the sky and the sun. Sit in the soil and the grass on the ground. Listen to the birds and the sound of the trees. And remember that you came with purpose, that your job is to know your why and to be curious about your light, to set an intention and to accept that the gremlins of negativity can always find their way in, but it is your job to let the consciousness rise in you and defend on all corners, because the light that exists in you is unlike any light anywhere. Hey guys, listen, I can't wait to spend more time with you. I've got to go. But this world right now, in its transformed state, it requires all of us. It requires you to show up as yourself and push and lift and sit and expand this great universe. Ciao for now.